the cafe. Our next guest is the embodiment of what we consider successful, yet a devastating bout of depression led to postponing her wedding and locking herself away in her bedroom. Still feeling isolated, even with the support of family and friends, she realised the need to connect with others experiencing the same feelings, and so developed a new online community and resource centre, Talk Mental with Me. Welcome to the show, Kirsty Cardy. Great to see you.
Thank you very much. It's great to see you too, and thank you very much for having me.
It's a great name for this platform. Can you tell us more about your own story, as we actually know you from being a star on MasterChef back in 2015, and then you went on to work with Simon Gould.
That's correct. Yes, even those were a few years ago, but great stepping stones to my career. And Simon and I developed his range of stocks and breads together. And I did the packaging. I can't really take claim for that, but moved on to the restaurant industry, and I became country manager of Zomato, which is where I honed my digital skills. Then went to NZME and again was part of the digital transformation team. And then co-founded another medical startup called Edison, and moved on from that after I felt awfully depressed.
Outwardly, to anyone looking in, it looked like you had everything sussed, but you were actually struggling with depression.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I was loving life, and I was always looking for the next opportunity, and I knew that there was a whole lot ahead. But in retrospect, I should have looked at the warning signs. It's very stressful building startups, and what can be at times, it's also a lot of fun. But I think you tend to sometimes put these symptoms down to, it's just a bad day, or, you're not getting on with your colleagues, or something similar. But look, in hindsight, I should have noticed some of the warning signs. I think it was about 6 months before I really noticed myself.
And more recently, your depression actually led you to having to postpone something really exciting in your life, your own wedding. What happened there?
Yeah, that was it was a horrible realisation. It was towards the end of last year. My wedding was booked for February the 8th, earlier this year. And I had to ring 100 people, 100 of my closest family and friends, to tell them that the wedding had been postponed because of depression. It wasn't about January by the time I started to feel better, but I had spent the last few months in bed, unable to get out of bed to do anything. And it was 3 weeks before my wedding day. One of my friends said, "What are you doing for a dress?" I said, "Oh, I don't really have one." So we're in a wedding shop, and the lady's asking me, "When's your wedding date?" "February 8th next year." "No, it's this year." And I just realised it's not going to happen. And so it was a very challenging thing to call 100 of my closest family and friends and tell them that I had been depressed. But I was expecting a lot of negativity or disappointment that the wedding had been postponed, but I got the opposite. I got an overwhelming outpouring of support and love from people that had been through something similar. It was 1 in 5 of my friends said, "Me too."
Wow. So even though you had support from your family and friends, what did you find was missing in your own recovery?
Well, I didn't really have that much support from my family and friends because I didn't speak about it. As I say, it wasn't until I called 100 people that I found out that they had gone through this. And I had felt very alone in my recovery, thinking, is this just me? Am I the only one that feels like I deserve a medal if I have a shower on that morning? And after I found out that 20% of my own family and friends, my closest family and friends, had been through this too, I realized, well, where are we? Why weren't we speaking to each other? I asked them why they didn't talk about it. Well, they've never discussed mental health with me, and their answer was simple. It was that we don't talk about it. And so I wanted to remove the stigma, and I wanted to be able to connect the people that need each other at the time that they need each other most, not afterwards if you manage to talk about it, but when you are stuck in at home, such as lockdown now, and anxiety is building, and you can't get out to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a support group, to be able to reach out and have the support of others from your own bed, mobile device, laptop, wherever you are.
Kirsty, this is phenomenal. We're only talking a few months ago that you were pretty much bedridden and unable to get out of bed. And now you've managed to create a safe place for people suffering with their own mental health issues to connect. So please do tell us about Talk Mental with Me.
Sure. I basically built everything that I wanted when I was depressed. So there's a few layers to that. One, of course, is the not feeling alone, and it's the community. I know you've noticed through lockdown, the politicians and psychologists are all saying that more than anything, we need to be able to support each other, and we need that sense of community. So that was first and foremost. I'm hesitant to call it a social platform because it's not social media, it's honest and it's real, but it does have all the functionality of Facebook. The difference between Talk Mental With Me and Facebook is that because of this silly stigma that still exists, some people are still too shy to open up their full stories. So you can come on to Talk Mental With Me and be fully anonymous if you like with a username. However, there's still credibility moved through ranks. We assign something called community points as people excel through good behaviour, and likewise anything that's against the rules is deducted. Anything that's a major breach, that person is completely kicked off. So it's a completely safe place where you can be really honest and open with your thoughts and feelings. Secondary to that, there's a news and information site. So we have latest news articles from around the world, medical research, even celebrity stories, just updates, tips. There's a lot at the moment on how to cope with stress and anxiety through the coronavirus. And then there's a directory of listings for where to find professional help.
Okay, so loads of resources on the site. Are you working with the Mental Health Foundation in New Zealand, or who are you working with to help provide and make sure that the information is bang on?
Sure. From the get-go, I've been working with Guy at Conscious Counselling. So he's a trained, experienced counsellor, and so that was troubleshooting the ideas. And then I have spoken to a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists, and refining the concept. And so before launch, I sent it to Jacinda, who sent it to David Clark, who sent it to Robin Shearer, who's the Deputy General of Mental Health in New Zealand. And she's given me a checklist of bits and pieces to cross off, which were mainly around the moderation tools, which is a very valid concern. But we now have a partnership with 1737 to provide 24/7 counselling services for anyone in crisis. So we've managed to tick off all of the requirements from the government, and I've also had people from DHB have a look over it to make sure that there's no inaccuracies of information.
You check out, you've done your homework. Just a reminder to people
that was quite low. Yes.
That 1737 number is the one that you can text and get help at any time. Lastly, from your own experience with depression, what would you say to anyone who's maybe in a similar place watching right now to where you were a few months ago?
There's light at the end of the tunnel. I got to a really, really low place, and I think that one of the classic characteristics of depression is that there's no hope. You feel like there's no hope. And I really, really did feel like that. And it was so out of character, but it was so low and it's so real and so unshakable. But there absolutely is. I probably would have had a hard time believing somebody that says that at the time. And there's a few websites that say it, don't give up and there is hope. But that's, again, one of the reasons I wanted to create such a big community, because then you realize you're not alone. You're not the only one. It's not a government website or something preaching at you that it's going to be okay. There's hundreds of thousands of examples, as this community grows, of people that have been exactly the same. And so you really know that it's true. It's not just words on a site. You will get better.
Brilliant, Kirsty. Thanks so much. You can check out Kirsty's website at talkmentalwithme.com. And of course, if you are concerned with anything we've discussed this morning, please do reach out and contact your own healthcare professional or any of the numbers that are currently on screen. Okay, still to come, we'll see Rachel's finished easy meatballs. Now though, here's Hamish.